Hello, everybody. We're getting this Zoom thing down. Oh, that light back there is awful. I may turn that light off. Yeah, let's turn that off. It looks like I do have guardian angels all around me, but let me just check this. We have two people. Welcome, early bird. Welcome, early bird. Jennifer Brennan here, garden coach. And I promised that I wasn't going to just show you all the bad samples and the good samples that I get in this last week. I'm going to show you some fun things and some of the fun things I'm doing in my garden, and I hope you're doing in your garden as well. And what I'm going to show you is what I've been doing, even working 6 days a week here. So it can be done. It can be done. Of course, it helps when your husband goes out of town for 3 weeks. I can do all kinds of stuff that I normally wouldn't be doing, after hours, like planting my garden. Excuse me, water. I'm gonna turn that overhead light off. Oh, that's much better. Yeah, this is much better. Ooh, I have rosier cheeks now. Okay, here we go. We are 2 minutes away. We have 3 people. Welcome, welcome. You got the link, and then you got, I think, a separate link for the outline. And so you can print that up or put it on a side screen and have the notes that I'm going to be following. And these are all the notes that are in the PowerPoint. So it saves you some time from having to take all those notes. So let me see, we have 2 minutes away. 2 minutes away. So good morning, good morning. Here we go. 4 people, that includes me. So there's 3 of you out there. Welcome, welcome. Well, last week was cool, but, and I'm going to repeat myself when I start the presentation. It was cool, but boy, what a great, cooler air temperature with our warm soils to get plants that were newly planted on Memorial Day. Wow, what a great way to give them a good start. And now that we're going to be, they've had a good week to get rooted in. And I hope that you're watering. When I say that I need a drink, you need to get a drink of water. This is my Yeti of water. One of my good friends here at Chalet, Renee, gave me my first Yeti, and it was for my coffee. And then she saw me carrying 2 mugs in 2 thermoses every day. So she gave me another Yeti so that I have one for cold drinks and one for hot drinks. And then she gave me the cool handle, because this is a 32-ounce, big, almost a thermos. And so the cool handle helps you carry it. So it's really nice, and it keeps it nice. The ice stays ice all the way till 6 p.m. tonight. It's so cool. It's so cool. And the hot coffee stays hot till 6 p.m. It's incredible. Okay, let me see. It is 10 o'clock now, and we have 7 people on board. And I'm going to go ahead and share the screen. Oh, I want to just say welcome. Jennifer Brennan is my name, and I'm officially the Horticulture Information Specialist here at Chalet. I've been here 30 years, and I love I used to run and manage the Learning Center. And then with COVID, we went virtual, and, we're doing, people are really enjoying the virtual presentations. I'm going to be doing the Hydrangea webinar tomorrow. Tony Fulmer was scheduled to do that. He's our chief horticultural officer. Tony and I worked together. He was my boss for 20 years here when he managed the retail store. And then I reported directly to him. And we did the Learning Center. We collaborated together on most of the topics. And so he got called out of town on a medical emergency for a good friend. So I'm stepping in and doing his presentation. But he put it together. I'm going to give him full credit. that'll be tomorrow at noon, from noon to 1. So sign up for that today if you hadn't had a chance to do it, already. So let me see. We have 8 people. Welcome, welcome. I'm going to go ahead and share the screen. Oh, no. What I want to do is I want to mention I'm going to do the presentation and then answer questions afterwards. So do me a favor and put your questions in the Q&A column rather than the chat box. It's so much easier to stay organized, for me to stay organized, if they're in the question and answer, the Q&A box. So if you enter them there, I'll get to them at the end and answer all the questions before I sign off. All right, so let me share the screen and we'll go ahead and get started. All right, here it is. Okay, so I'm up in the corner at the top of your screen, and we're going to share it from the beginning. And there's too many of me on the screen right now. Uh-oh, why isn't it working? There it is. There it is. Oh, I got rid of that one. Okay, here are the topics today. And I promised everybody that last week that I would do more fun things, more fun things. And so I mentioned before we were just getting started that what a wonderful week last week was, even though we were wearing our coats again. But it was so incredible for our plants that were recently planted on Memorial Day, because traditionally that's when everyone planted mom's annuals for her, Memorial Day, as a Mother's Day gift. And so it's just a tradition to do your summer planting on Memorial Day weekend. And then to have that week afterwards, or those cool air temperatures, along with our warm soils. Our soils are in the mid 60s right now. When we're going through these heat waves, they've been hitting 70, which is, it's a little too hot for soil temperatures. But for planting early in the summer, getting vegetable gardens started, oh my goodness, these warm soils are incredible, absolutely incredible. So I'm going to show you my garden and my vegetable garden that I finally got planted. I planted it on Memorial Day, and then I'm going to show you some of my favorite plants, and they're really old-fashioned plants in my garden that have kind of stayed around for years and years and years and years. I'm going to share my tools for success, my products. I love to use the Dr. Earth vegetable planting mix, and that's what I put in my new raised beds, my raised beds in my vegetable garden. Rat Magic is a newer product. It's been around, I think, for 2 years now, from the Bonide company, and it has cedarwood oil, castor oil, clove oil, and peppermint oil, and you sprinkle it as a barrier around your garden, and it keeps chipmunks, squirrels, and rats out. I'm lucky; I don't have rats at my house, but it's targeted for that rodent group of animals. And then I also, my favorite products is the Bio Advanced Rose and Flower all-in-one, and then preen. Once I get all of my gardens cleared of weeds, I religiously use preen every 3 months to keep any weed seeds from germinating. And then Grub-X. I always treat with Grub-X too, and I do that Memorial Day. So and I'm going to go into what the horticulturist is doing. Urgent. We're going to talk about by Burnham leaf beetle, larvae that have emerged. Water. I did promise that I was only going to show you fun things this week, but I've got some things I saw at the diagnostic desk that were really fun for me. So I like sharing with you, and it's just a few. And then we're going to talk about what to do for the lawn. This traditionally Memorial Day and in the first 2 weeks of June is the time to take care of the summer lawn care. So I'm going to talk about that. And then, dealing with the public enemy number one, rabbits. Pretty soon the babies are going to be out there. And then I'm going to talk about all the insects that are going to be coming out. Now, I love this iris. Was in my garden when I bought my house 35 years ago, and I just love it. It's called Iris pallida, and it's incredible. It smells like grape soda. It is so wonderful. But unfortunately, in the past couple of years, it's popped open, and then we'd have like an 80 degree week, and then it would be done in like a week. It was so heartbreaking. These were taken 2 weeks ago. This was this week, and you can see how the majority of the flowers are already finished. And doggone it, thank goodness I took this picture when I did 2 days ago. When I went out to my car, if this is in a garden bed, it's right next to my driveway, so I see it every morning. It's really nice, and it was originally filled with peonies, and so I just have two that are left. But when I went out this morning, all of these were finished, completely finished in a week. Ugh, breaks my heart sometimes. That's why I'm glad I smell them. I take time to smell them, and I take photos. Now, I've been showing you photos of my great grandmother's peonies, and I rescued these from a farm down in Browns, Illinois, and she had planted these over 75 years ago. And I dug them up at the total wrong time of the year. It was in May, 4 years ago. Divided them up. So I gave some to my dad and some to two of my cousins that still live down in Southern Illinois. And then I brought these to my house, and I was able to divide them into two plants. And this is what they looked like last week. And then look what they look like now. This was this week, and they are so fragrant. And it was so fun when they finally bloomed. My dad hadn't remembered them, and when they finally bloomed, and mine bloomed sooner, got established sooner up here than the ones down in his house in Arkansas. And when I showed him the photo, he remembered when he was a little boy and how his mother would cut these and take them to the church every Sunday. At the end of it was all through May. It was all through May down in Southern Illinois. They're earlier. They bloom earlier down there than up here, and so it's just really fun. My dad was so thrilled that we were able to move them and kind of keep them in the family, going forward. He passed away 2 years ago, but so this always makes me think of him. And boy, I forget how fragrant they are until they bloom every year. Just incredible, just incredible. I don't know the name. I'm going to have to find out the name and ID them. Okay, now I've been talking about repotting my strawberries in my hanging baskets. Look, I finally did it. I finally did it. And I did that a week ago. And then I was talking about how I had some berries already. Okay, close-ups. Okay, you can see the flowers, a few of the berries here. And then in another pot, look at this one. Look at those. And you can see when I divided the plants up, they'd been in the basket for a full year, and it really filled the basket. And so I divided them, and in one basket, nothing made it. And then so I divided 1.5 baskets into those three. And I'm going to have strawberries. Isn't that cool? So, and then the mix I used in the baskets was the Dr. Earth vegetable planting mix, because it's got a little more, it's heavier than our standard potting mix. So it holds more moisture, and it holds more nutrient, in it. So, for a plant that's producing fruit, it's really good. It's one of my favorite products. Now, and speaking of that, this was last week, and last Monday, I got 9 bags of the Dr. Earth vegetable mix in those newly rebuilt raised vegetable beds that my husband did. And you can see the mounds. You can see I just mounded it. Okay, so this last Monday, what I had to do is I had to turn all and mix all that soil and then plant. And oh my gosh, I could barely walk the next day, but I'm giving my age away. And here's how she looks. Here's how the garden looks. So my rhubarb is and this is just showing you close-ups of the sections. I'm going to give you more. And this rhubarb came with the house. When I bought the house 35 years ago, it was in a garden in one of the planting beds, one of the flower beds. And so I've just moved it around from year to year to year. I moved it to this location. I guess it was 8 years ago when my husband rebuilt the raised beds then, and this will be the second time that had to be rebuilt because the wood always, it breaks down. And this is an area in my yard that floods. And so it's really tough on wood, even if it's treated. I don't use treated wood. This is just this is a cedar, so it holds up pretty well. I mean, 8 years is pretty good. So there's my rhubarb. Ooh, and I have a wonderful recipe that I got, a Martha Stewart recipe, and it's a rhubarb pistachio cake, and I've been meaning to bake it. And we've been so busy at work that, and because I'm doing 2 webinars this week, I just haven't had a chance to bake it. So next week, I promise I'll have photos of it. I wish I could bake it and send a piece to everybody, but it looks really good. It's yogurt. It's yogurt based. It's rhubarb pistachio yogurt cake, and it's in a round 2-inch, small cake pan. So I promise I'll share photos. Okay, and then this is the tour of the vegetable garden. You can see I've really reduced the number of tomatoes. I used to do about 8 tomatoes, and it's just too many tomatoes. My husband's diabetic, and I had too many tomatoes the 2 years before, and when his blood sugar went totally out of whack, it's because he ate most of those tomatoes. So I reduced it down. I just have 2 tomatoes now. I have one Sweet 100 and one Sun Gold. I go with the little tomatoes because I've just gotten so tired of battling the chipmunks and squirrels for my large tomatoes. And it was just a battle. And with these, they produce so many thousands. It's not Sweet 100, it's Sweet 1000. And same with the Sun Gold. And so I didn't put the fences up yet because I'm doing an experiment for y'all so I can report. I put the rat magic all around all those edges of all the bed. And you do a 2-foot wide strip, you sprinkle it. And 1 pound sprinkled 2 feet wide will cover 100 square feet. And I had seen the chipmunks digging in the mounded Dr. Earth vegetable mix the day before. And before I did the work in the garden and planted it, and I thought, oh no. And so I treated with that rat magic after I got everything planted, and I haven't seen any sign of them, in getting in the garden. So fingers crossed, huh? Okay, then this is looking it's a horseshoe shaped, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 6 4x4 raised bed sections, and you can see looking straight back, the one side of the horseshoe at the rhubarb, and the chives are also perennials have been there. And isn't it cool when my husband rebuilt these, he built around the perennials that they weren't that big, they were just starting to come up. So I'm proud of him for doing that. And then you can see my eggplant. I've got some parsley. I'm going to go a little bit inside. Okay, this is looking back towards the sun sugar. My favorite basil in the whole world is Pesto perpetuo, and it's an upright growing variegated form and with small leaves, so it's real easy to harvest and chop and use them. And then back behind the tomato, you'll see that little bitty plant. It's a pineapple sage, and it's fun to smell the pineapple scent on the leaves. But the reason I plant it is it gets about 2.5 feet tall, and then it has these beautiful orangey red flowers on it. So it decorates the garden as well. But then I'm also hoping that those herbs on the corners, animals that get in, fragrant plants really offend them. I put one on the other. This is the other end of the horseshoe. There's the Pesto perpetuo, and then these are I inherited these wonderful metal protective grids from the owner of my house when I bought the house, and it's kind of an antique chicken wire grid and that's my arugula in the middle, and then on the back behind it is my cucumber grid. Oh, here you go. And I love this cucumber grid. I also inherited this from the previous owner, and it's on a slant. So I planted my cucumber seeds at the base, and then they'll grow up over the slant. And then when the cucumbers form, they hang down. So it's easy to harvest. I walk right in and harvest. So it's really fun. And then you can see going into the back section, I was looking again, that's where this slant faces west. So it's going to get full sun. So I'm going to have good cucumbers this year. That's my goal. And then instead of putting tomatoes in these other tomato cages, these are sugar snap peas, and I just let them grow up. And I bought these as small plants instead of starting from seed. And then you can see them blooming. So I'll have some fruit. I'll have some sugar snap peas before I know it. And then that's just another, and I'm going to train them up. Those are actually 5-foot tall tomato towers. So, and then I put in 2 different squashes. I put a delicata squash, and this is a yellow summer squash. And then, I'm still going to plant kale and some spinach and some other lettuces. What I like to do is I like to plant lettuces every 2 weeks underneath the cucumber trellis. It's a little shaded. And so, and then I just harvest, every 2 weeks. I plan to plant a new, and I have it spaced so I can plant a new cucumber vine every 3 weeks. So I have a fresh source, and then I'm also going to plant kale every 3 weeks. Just in all those bare spaces I had. This is my favorite. Another plant that came with my house. It's a huge big Weigela, and I just love it when it's flowered. And it took a real hit when we had that Arctic blast 2 years ago, and knocked it down about 2/3 its size. And so I'm just so thrilled to see it so blooming so well, and it attracts hummingbirds. So I've got my hummingbird feeders up, and then this. This is a pass along plant that a neighbor gave me, and I absolutely love it. It's a ranunculus, and it's called Floraplena. It's almost impossible to find these anymore. You almost have to get them from a gift from someone that has it in their garden. And then this is one of the blue hostas. It's underneath my serviceberry in my backyard. And then here's my front yard, and my front yard has a fun story. That huge honey locust. It's about 75 to 90 feet tall now. I asked my arborist to mulch it one time. Be careful when you ask an arborist to mulch your trees. And my son had come home from high school saying, Mom, I love what the arborist did. I don't have a lot to mow in the yard anymore, because he mulched out to the drip line. And I was like, oh my gosh. So I went ahead and planted it with shade plants. And I have this, and that's the shot from the front. And then this is my collection of hostas. I love hostas, and Patriot is so lovely. That's Patriot. Blue Angel is the one that's behind it. There's 2 blue angels. And then over just kind of in the, you just see my yard waste bags too. It's Victory. It's a Victory. And I'll show you, I have 2 victories in the bed as well. This is Amsonia hubrectii. You may have noticed this plant at Chalet. If you come in the west gate, and it's all planted right off to the side next to the gate in front of the Chalet house, the administrative office, the Chalet house. And it is a phenomenal, it's called Arkansas Amsonia, or Blue Star. This is what it looks like when it's in flower, those beautiful pale blue flowers. And then it's got that wispy foliage, very soft texture. I love it with my big leaf hostas. And then what's wonderful is in the fall, it turns canary yellow. I mean, bright canary yellow. It's incredible. And then these are Stachys humilo down below, and they'll be in bloom in purple flowers. I kind of have this purple thing in my garden. This is Victory. And then looking back, you can see the Patriot over the edge, and then there's the 2 blue angels off to the right. And then I love native ginger, and I have native ginger kind of working and spreading as the ground cover underneath all these shade plants. And this Victory is so cool. And I'll show you another shot of it. Oh, what's fun is, okay, these hostas around the edge of where I have my rhododendrons, and this is it's called aglow. I have 9 aglow rhododendrons at the front of the house. They took a real hit from that Arctic blast. I'm still pruning them up, and I still have some dead wood in them. But this is the classic Winnetka weed, everybody. This is an hosta. It's called Alba marginata. This was one of the, I thought it was a miniature hosta when I first planted it. And I had it under a foundation planting of yews in the front of the house. So when I put in this circle bed, I put this circle bed in probably about 20 years ago. I moved all those hostas around the edge. And then when my arborist did the other circle bed, it's kind of nice to have that undulating, path. This is a huge blue angel right off the driveway going into the front door, and then with my boxwood. And then this was a fun experiment for me a year ago. This was a hosta called Blue Cadet, and it was tucked under that big blue hosta that I showed you in the back side of the house. Until a year ago, I dug the clump up and divided it into 8 different pieces and planted all 8 here this is on the sidewalk that goes into my backyard. And look how great they have done. They just keep filling out and filling out. And it was a plant that it was so well grown that I had to use a saw. I used my arborist saw to cut the clump into 8 pie wedge shaped pieces and plant them in. And this is Blue Cadet, a cute little miniature hosta that just stays so nice and well behaved right along that walkway. And it's planted under the neighbor's Arborvitae. This is a crinkled white peony. I loved crinkled white. It's in that front bed where all of the irises are. And then it's also growing. This is an old-fashioned blue geranium. It's called Johnson's Blue. I put this in, gosh, probably the first year I had the house. So that's been in 35 years. A lot of people don't like Johnson's Blue because it can get real leggy and flop, but I love the color, and it's kind of in the ground color covered geranium under these peonies and next to these irises. So I just leave it, and it's still a good guy. My knockout rose, I'd had a knockout rose there for many, many years since they first were kind of discovered or released, and then it got killed in that Arctic that polar vortex we had. So I planted a new one, and look, it's really looking good. It's filled with buds. These are Little Caesar's Siberian Iris, and they're just so great because they just bloom and bloom and bloom, and they're right next to the Iris pallida, so it kind of carries that blue color with the Johnson's Blue. And this is in my backyard. This is it's a bottle brush Buckeye, and this plant is 12 feet tall and actually 12 to 20 feet wide. And it's underneath a pine tree that really, it's an Austrian pine that just keeps getting worse and worse and worse with, and I've treated it. I have my arborist treat it, and the heat and the drought, it's just really taken a toll on it. And so it's been limbed up. And once we took some of the lower branches off, they had died. This bottle brush Buckeye just took over. And I'll have pictures of it when it's in bloom, probably next week or the week after. And then I had to show you, this is on the south side of my house. And these are Deutzia. They were killed back to the ground in that polar vortex, but they've come back. And this was just taken 2 days ago, so they're still in bloom. They were totally covered with white. I'm sorry I didn't get a picture of them in full flower. And then the magnolia that is up over it, that's a star magnolia. So it blooms very early, and it works really well with all the white siding on my house. And then now we're into the samples. All right, this just came in 2 days ago, and this was on an Arborvitae, and the person came in and said, "What is this?" And I peeled it open, and this is a scale, on the Arborvitae, and it's an insect. And when the adult is underneath the brown scale covering, but all of these eggs are under there too. And they will hatch at different times. There's a large quantity of them that hatch in June, and then they hatch another amount of them in September. So the best thing to take care of this on plants is the systemic insecticides and the drenches that you can mix and pour right at the base of the plant. And then as the adult is sucking the juices, it's killed, doesn't kill the eggs. So when you use a 12-month systemic, it's wonderful because you have to go through the life cycle. As those eggs hatch and those larvae start sucking the juices, they get killed too. But I always like to tell people that so they're not panicking when they go out at the end of June or the end of September and they see more insects on a plant that they treated. They have to crawl out and then suck the juices of the plant, and it kills them, and it stops the whole life cycle in that 1 year. But it takes the full year to get rid of all of them. Okay, this is a scale on an elm tree, and the person brought it in because they could see these brown mottled bumps on the leaves, and they were curious. And so we came to the microscope, and that's what it looked like when I peeled it off. I'm sorry, that's not focused. The focus went on the microscope. And then this is what it looks like up close when you look underneath it. And the person was so grossed out that he decided he had to go home and take a shower. So, but again, on an elm, the trees are so large, you really don't have to worry about this. They probably lived together for thousands of years, and when the crawlers do come out, the birds will eat the crawlers. So you don't have to kill every insect on everything. Okay. Now this one you do. This is by Burnham Leafy larva. I have been getting sample upon sample upon sample all week long of these. And so if you have an area that it's been a little cooler by the lake, then the egg hatch has and the emergence of the larva has been a bit later. But time and time again, people come in and said, "Oh my gosh, I walked to the back of my lot. I hadn't been back there in a couple of days. All of the leaves look like this." And they brought samples in that were the only thing that was left were the veins of the leaf. And so by that time, it's a little late to spray to kill the insect. Look at the twigs on your viburnums just to see if you can see. This is what the egg laying looks like. The stem, it's kind of not as going to focus, but you can see it's in focus at the base, not behind where the leaves are. And there were really microscopic larvae when they first emerged. I've been showing you this slide for a couple of weeks now, but I just wanted you to see what that looks like. And then this is what it looks like when they're really bad. They just attack the whole part of the plant. This is from 2 years ago, and they were eating all the stems even. So they're just evil, evil, evil. This is what the adults look like. They will emerge. The larva, when they finish feeding, drop to the ground pupate, and then when they finish, the adults emerge 2 months later. So these adults are going to come back in July, end of July, early August, eat the new leaves that have formed, because the plants will form leaves again, but the adults will eat them again, not as severely as the larvae do, but then the adults mate and then lay eggs on all the small stems. Okay, water. I'm going to take a drink just in honor of that. We have not received enough rainfall for the season. We're still down 7 inches in the amount of rain we should have in our gardens and our lawns. So make sure that if we don't get, and we did get an inch last week, and then we got another 3/10 of an inch, in those rainy days, which was a blessing, but it's still not enough. So, and we're going into this hot weekend without having any rain. They're talking about the weather anchor on Channel 7 this morning was talking about if in the cloudburst we're going to get on middle of next week, it's only going to be 1/10 of an inch. So it's not significant at all. It's just enough to make the leaves wet and promote powdery mildew. So water, water, water. Set your sprinklers up and run them so that you get 1/2 an inch each time, and do that too. With the 90-degree temperatures we're going to have this weekend, you want to water 3 times, in the week. Okay, and then use a rain gauge. Always monitor how much rain you're getting at your house, so and because it can be so spotty. And then you can also measure how much the sprinkler is delivering, and so you have an accurate knowledge of how much water is going to the root zone. And you want to water the root zone, not just get the leaves wet. I had a woman comment to me the other day saying, "Oh, I thought they like to drink from the leaves too." No, they don't. They don't. They need it down in the root system. Okay. Now here are the samples. Here are the samples, and I think here I'm going to show you. Okay, this is a great one right here, and I'll show you afterwards also. I've seen probably 20 different rose slug samples, and I'm going to pull this one out, and you can see they look like stained glass. And then, oh good, there's the larva right there, ready for his close-up. See the insect right there, that larva right there. I think I can get it close enough, and I'll do it later too. But they're pale green. You can hardly see them, and you have to have a trained eye. Don't you love that? And I need to get a life, don't I? Okay, and then there's another one. Oh man, they're all ready to be shown. Look at this. Look at this. Well, I wonder if it'll show through the plastic. No. Okay, and I'll show these afterwards. And as I said last week, this is what the adult looks like. I have never seen an adult sawfly, a rose sawfly, ever. I've been doing this 30 years, and I've never seen that adult insect. So thank you to Dr. Boggs. I showed these last week, and then his counterpart, MJ Rapp, at Ohio State University. And, and it's amazing. Usually we never see as many as you see on the photo on the upper left. Usually it's 1 or 2 only, and it does all that damage, and they have scraping mouthparts. They scrape the layer of cells off of one side. It gets dry, and you can see how the sections drop out on that lower picture down in the middle. So, and that's actually the bristly rose slug. We have 2 different varieties. We have the early season ones that were out about 2 weeks ago. They have 1 life cycle in the summer. The bristly rose slug has 5 life cycles. It just keeps coming back. The adult just keeps going down to the ground, emerging back again, and laying more eggs. So you really want to treat with some of the systemic insecticides, and I'll show you that. Now the junipers, I showed this last week, but I have all these samples of what's happening to the junipers. And a woman brought in like 5 bags of these samples, and she was so concerned because of all the yellowing, in the center of the plant. And this is a sign that it was drought stressed. What was encouraging is look at all the new growth that's coming at the tips. So it's recovering beautifully. It's just that she has to keep watering. And then I talked last week about the photo at the very base. That was again a Joe Boggs photo, and that was from the black vine weevil damage of the larva chewing on the trunk and the roots. Tons of peach leaf curl, on all the peaches, and the best control for that is a copper spray. It's copper soap, and the copper soap from Bonide. And you want to treat because you're going to treat the newly emerging leaves. And then also you want to treat the fruit because it can get on the fruit. It was interesting. Someone brought a sample in, and I think it got disposed, but they had a service treat and spray 2 weeks ago. And the sample the person brought in, the leaves lower on the branch had the damage, had the symptoms of the peach leaf curl, and the newly emerging leaves completely perfect. And so it shows when you treat how you can protect things. These leaf tears or leaf rollers I'm getting probably 6 samples a day on all the hydrangeas. So you can prune those off. Just go and prune those off. You can also use an insecticide to get rid of those. And then just showing that these were the larvae on the boxwood and, leaf miner, and these are the systemic insecticides that we love to recommend. It's with the Bayer Advanced or Bio Advanced is the new name. And then the bonide, we bring the bonide in because we have it in the gallon size at its value price for you. And then Volutella on Pachysandra coming in on a daily basis. And then you can see the brown stems. You can see the Volutella spots on the leaves. It's a leaf spot disease and also, a disease of the stem blight and leaf blight, and then sunburn on Pachysandra, tons of that. When it's hot and it's sunny, that's when we see these kinds of damage. Sadly, I saw a lot of samples this week of herbicide damage on plants that were adjacent to lawns. When we had that hot week, that 80-degree week and the 88-degree week, a lot of people had just put their weed and feed on their lawns like the week before. And so that chemical stays in the soil for 30 days doing the job killing the weeds, but it's an amine and it can volatilize and drift into adjacent plants. So a lot of ground cover plants like hostas, and then I saw 4 different ground cover samples of damage from 2,4-D. And what happens is the leaves all curl up and they feel really hard like plastic. And then I just want to remind everybody, I have a map up at the window at the Plant Information Center about the brood 13 emergence and the brood 10 and cicada emergence. And just a reminder, in Illinois, brood 10 is only down on the eastern border to Indiana. And so we're brood 13. We're not going to have it until 2024. I heard a warning on the radio this morning saying that everybody that wants to use the cicadas to cook with and to stir fry and to eat and to chop up and put into batters, you have to be careful because they're in the same group of animals as shrimp and lobsters. So people that have allergies to shrimp could have allergies to cicadas. So you don't have to worry about that until 3 years from now when brood 13 emerges here in our area. Okay. All right. Now just back to, showing you the nursery again. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful entry where we have our shade garden with wonderful, wonderful examples. The dwarf conifers, gorgeous. We keep getting refills and refills and refills on our boxwood and our Arborvitae. So and then the ornamental grasses, the peonies. And this is one of the Icho peonies. And we also had some tree peonies. The shade perennials. I love showing how full the benches are finally. We finally are, and we're getting inventory, every day, which is, and so as soon as it comes in, it sells, it flies off the shelves. So come frequently and come and check. This, I mentioned this, but we're still doing this wonderful promotion. These are some of the top selling perennials in 4-inch and 3-inch pots. They're 4-inch pots and at value priced from $6.99 to $8.99. So what a good way to get like a neat new collection of perennials that, and they're mixed on that table, sun and shade. Okay, geraniums. I love the geraniums. The impatience, the beacon impatience are the disease-resistant impatience, and they're in trays and they're tagged. You can see beacon mix on the on the tag, so you're getting the Downy. It's called the Impatience Downy Mildew, IDM disease. This is what happens to the old-fashioned, Impatience wateriana. These new beacons are completely disease-resistant, and you can see the downy mildew on the underneath sides of the leaves, but usually what happens is the leaves just drop off and you just have bare stems. A lot of people, because this usually doesn't hit till the very end of the summer when it's hot and we have a lot of rainfall and it's humid, but it stays in the soil for 11 to 15 years. So it's so wonderful that they have the disease-resistant varieties out there. I love the wax leaf begonias. They're great. They can work in morning sun, afternoon shade, or deep shade. Really beautiful. Our signature pots are looking better and better and better, and just showing the full tables over in the sun perennial areas. And then also we have a whole section of the foliage plants for containers. This is looking back over our evergreen area again. Outdoor cashiers, and people love that they can either go outdoors or indoors to check out. And then we also have our Shopify system where our nursery our sales team can actually check you out using a cell phone. So it's a really neat new system that gets you in and out, without having to go to the cashier and stand in line. So and then again, our wonderful new nursery benches and our great containers. I want to emphasize the systemic disease control. Immunox is one of the best products that we have. It's myclobutanil is the active ingredient. You spray it on, it's absorbed in the leaves, stays in even if it rains, and it stays in the foliage for 14 days. And then the Bayer's All-in-One has tebuconazole, another wonderful systemic fungicide. Bonides infused for the lawns is propiconazole. And then we also have the Earth Tone 3-in-1, which has the disease control in it as well. And I'm going to show you all these. This is the best preventative that we really have, and it's been one of the best ones because it's preventative and curative. And we say curative, that means you can spray it on the leaves, and then if they've already been inoculated, but the disease hasn't manifested, and it takes 6 to 8 weeks for the lesions to show up, then if you spray with Immunox, it will stay in the leaf and kill the fungus and stop it. It'll stop the action. So, and the active ingredient is myclobutanil. This product is incredible. Then I'm showing you, this is what we're going to be seeing, pretty soon, and we're seeing them little by little by little. Whitefly on hibiscus, aphids on anything and everything, mealybugs, and then spider mites. When it gets hot, we're going to see a lot more, many more plants with spider mites. This is what the nymph stage of the whitefly looks like. This is the underneath side of a hibiscus leaf. So I've already seen a couple of these, but these were plants that had whitefly inside, and then they were moved outside. And but again, the systemic insecticides will take care of that. This is how you determine aphids. They have those two cornicles, those two tails at the tail end of them, and it's the only insect that has that. So if you can see that even with a magnifying glass, it's aphids. And then the insect control is the Bayer's Tree and Shrub systemic, and I had the photo of that earlier, the 12-month, and then the Bayer or Bio Advanced Rose and Flower systemic, and then the 3-in-1 insect and mite control, and then the all-in-one, and then Earth Tone 3-in-1. These are what the bottles look like. And then we moved on to public enemy number 1. I'm hoping you've been using the repellents to really discourage the rabbits from coming and making a home and getting a meal in your garden, because pretty soon they're going to have the babies, and then they're going to bring their babies. So if they haven't had a good time getting food, they won't bring the babies back. Problem with the babies is they don't have a sense of taste or smell until they become an adolescents. And so they'll eat through most of the other repellents. Plant skeed is one of the best ones. But again, the babies will eat through this. Adults don't. What's nice about the liquid plant skeed is it stays on the plant for 60 days after you sprayed it. It's excellent. It's excellent. The rabbit dual action, the rabbit and liquid fence is the best because it actually has two different taste repellents. It has cinnamon and it has capsaicin at 5 times the amount, and it burns their mouths and it really offends them. And so it works for babies, and it's warranted. It's warranted. You have a money back warranty. And then this is just the list of of those. Now, the early season lawn diseases are going to start showing up, and the first one we always see is dollar spot. And we have the warm days we're having and these cool nights. That is perfect for dollar spot. The fun thing about dollar spot is that it's only a disease of the blade of the grass. And when you look at it, it has these hourglass kind of lesions on the blade. I haven't seen any yet, but it's about time. I'm predicting I'm going to see this because of this last week with the high dew points and the cool nights and the hot days. I'm predicting we're going to see dollar spot in the next 10 days. So what you want to do is get out there and spray. We have the Infuse for lawns, and the hose and sprayers are so convenient because you just took it to the hose and spray the lawn where you've ever seen any patch diseases, and it takes care of it. And this stays in the areas that are sprayed for 2 whole weeks, even if it rains. Okay, and then we talk about the lawn care calendar. We're right at the beginning of June, so that means we've taken you fertilized your lawn. And now the most important thing is to focus on weed control, and you did the pre-emergent early to prevent any new seeds from starting and to prevent any of the crabgrass from starting. But a lot of times there's still some perennial weeds that keep coming back, like the dandelions. And then, so now is the time to do the fertilizer and the weed control. So classically, you do a weed and feed. This is a new product that our buyers brought in from Bio Advanced, and it's called the 5-in-1 Weed and Feed. It fertilizes for 3 whole months, prevents new broadleaf weeds for 6 months, so nothing will germinate, prevents new crabgrass for 6 months. And it also kills any large crabgrass that has actually started. And we warmed up so quickly that I've been really worried about the amount of crabgrass we're going to see. But this product will take care of it. And again, it keeps the lawns green for a solid 3 months. You're not going to get that summer fade that a lot of people see in the heat of the summer. So it's a time release. In this one bag is enough for 5,000 square feet. So, that this is what I'm going to use on my lawn this next week. And then most people are looking for the organic based Espoma lawn food, the red bag. And I was just notified yesterday that we are out of stock on it, and we're waiting patiently. So what we do have in stock is the Bonide brand, and it's a straight fertilizer, and it's a 20% nitrogen, 0 phosphorus, and 10% potassium. It's comparable to the Espoma. Espoma is 15-0-10. Okay. And then grub, now is the time to get that grub, Rub-X down, the grub control. And because they're coming to the surface, they're going to be emerging as June beetles. And then the Japanese beetles will be emerging, at the end of the month, early July. But the larvae have moved to the surface, so this is another time to kill them. Although they may have already pupated, so you may have to. That's why you put the Grub-X down now, and you could have put it down as early as April, and it lasts all the way through till until December, actually. So and then you want to protect all your plants from the fungal problems. And I've gone over this apple scab on crabapple and apple and cotoneaster, black spot on roses. I'm seeing samples of black spot, botrytis bud blight on roses and peonies, volutella stem blight on pachysandra and boxwood. Powdery mildew, man, I'm seeing tons of powdery mildew on lilac, not monarda yet, but roses and more plants. And then the patch diseases they're not going to show up, but you want to prevent them using that hose and fungicide. And okay, here we go. And there's Immunox and Infuse. Those are both of the concentrates. And for plants like shrubs and roses, it's 1 ounce per gallon. If you're going to use the concentrate for the lawn, it's 7 ounces per gallon. Okay. And then there's the hose-in sprayer if you want to use the concentrate and just set the dial yourself. That's the Bonide brand. We also have the Ortho brand, and that's the dial-in spray where you just pour the concentrate in and then set the dial, and it automatically mixes it for you. Hook it to the hose, automatically, takes care of it. So I love excellent tools like this. And then I also love the drenches. The all-in-one from BioAdvanced is just incredible for flower beds, 2 ounces in 2 gallons of water for 12 square feet. That's an area that's 3 by 4, or it's 2 ounces in a quart for 1 rose, and do that every 6 weeks. So technically it's April 15, June 1. Okay, this is June, almost June 1. Do the treatment now, and then you would do this, the last treatment for the growing season, and in July 15. And then I talk about this all the time. The Rose RX Systemic Drench is the same as the all-in-one. It just doesn't have fertilizer. So if you like using your own fertilizer, this has got the systemic insecticide and the systemic fungicide in it. Oh, I'm watching the time. Got to get moving here. Copper sulfate, copper octanoate, or copper soap. These are the earth-friendly natural fungicides, for the vegetable crops. Okay, and then these just show what you should be avoiding: apple scab on apples, anthracnose on. And it's late for anthracnose, but we saw it on, it's already in the plant right now, but on hostas, you'll be seeing the samples of these. Although we've been relatively dry, so I don't think we're going to see as much of it. And then this is black spot on rose. And then we're seeing lots of wild onion and wild garlic in the lawns. So you can use sedge ender, and it will take care of it. And then the best weed killer right now is the chickweed clover on oxalis. It has triclopyr in it. It's a much better, it actually, there are more weeds listed on its label than on Weed Beater Ultra. But the Weed Beater Ultra was good to use with carfentrazone when it was cooler, if the temperatures were down in the 40s, and those were air temperatures. So now it's chickweed clover and oxalis. The best non-selective is the iron hedida, or this Weed Beater iron, and that causes iron toxicity and burns the tops of the plants off. And then so many people have been coming in this week because the grasses are growing up through their ground covers and through their roses in their perennial beds. And this product is wonderful. It's called Grass Be Gone, and you spray it over the top. And of the broadleaf plants, it won't hurt them, but the weedy grasses will be killed in 10 to 14 days. They'll just be gone. I love this product. And then this is when you should think about, proactive care for your plants. So fertilize. Either the Dr. Earth tomato, veg, and herb, the Espoma brands. All the tones are good. The tones last 30 days. Dr. Earth lasts 60 days. So you're doing it every 2 months, and all of their products are wonderful. If you've got newly planted things, use Root and Grow for 8 weeks, doing it every 2 weeks. It takes 6 to 8 weeks for those roots to grow out from the root ball into the surrounding soil. So use that. And for indoors, use the Dynagrow Grow. Just in putting up this reminder about two-spotted spider mite. We're going to start seeing that because of these hot days. And then, so you want to use the BioAdvanced insect disease and mite control. Mites need a special, pesticide to take care of them. And I love this one because you spray it on. The insecticides stay in the leaves for 30 days. The fungicide stays in for 15 days. So it kills caterpillars and it kills the spider mites. And then new houseplant insect controls. These have sulfur and pyrethrin, or pyrethrin and canola oil. And then this was the full moon last Monday. I was out at the lake watching that wonderful supermoon come up, and so here's to summer and more days at the beach watching great moon rises like that. And I'm gonna stop sharing the screen here, And then let me pull up the question and answer. Okay, it's Fred Chamberlain. Good morning, Jennifer. On a previous garden coach, you spoke about something attacking the cotoneaster. Could you touch on that and what you would use for prevention? Many thanks for sharing all your knowledge. Oh, thank you, Fred. What's in the cotoneaster is actually apple scab. So the Immunox is the best thing to use. So, and especially if the cotoneaster is in part shade, they prefer to be in sunny conditions. We shouldn't see it as bad this year because of our dry spring. But I still would spray with Immunox, you know, the systemic fungicide. That should take care of it. So thank you so much, everybody. Let me see, it's 4 minutes till 11. And it looks like I've answered all your questions. And next week, I'm going to be talking about, I'm doing the lecture on next Friday morning at noon on hostas and shade plants. So I think for Garden Coach, we're going to talk more. Oh, we're supposed to get a wonderful shipment of more tropicals in. So next week's going to be shade and the fun hostas for Garden Coach, and then I'm going to talk about the tropical and the patio plants and how to enjoy those and get the most out of those wonderful plants and using them outside on our patios. So everybody, thank you so much, and I'll see you next week. Bye now.